comment. So this is the part where we'll just give our basic overall breakdown of the show. So the show starts off with, kind of this interesting thing where it shows all of these different people in Victorian era England. They look up and they see something in the sky that we're not entirely sure of. And next thing you know, it cuts to a couple years later, and it shows that there is this orphanage, again, let me know if this sounds familiar, that basically runs this kind of this haven for all of a sudden these superpowered individuals. And they basically do this thing where it's like, oh, they do that X-Men thing where it's like, oh, the few of them that can like blend in with the rest of human beings because their powers are more psychologically based. And then you have the one where they have the physical abnormalities, And of course, you've got the basic breakdown of, oh, there's the people who think that they're a danger to society, and there's the people who want to experiment on them. It's hitting all the beats as far as kind of this type of superhero affair goes, And it's interesting because I've kind of been in this weird spot with kind of some of the alternative superhero content that we've seen where we're kind of past, I feel like, the super deconstructive stuff like The Boys and Watchmen. And now we're kind of just getting into what are the different types of superhero stories that we can tell while still kind of maintaining the superhero fun stuff that people love, as far as the action and the punching and the rebelling against society and all that. And it's weird because this came out very, very close to another show that I'm watching, which is Amazon's animated show Invincible. And I think that show is handling it right as far as being this cool, interesting balance between like kind of, the classical superhero struggle that we're kind of used to, that we enjoy, versus incorporating some of like the new modern storytelling sensibilities in there, as far as that being, an adult animated cartoon. But this show kind of does a little bit of the opposite of that, where it's much more so of a genre piece than a superhero piece, I would say. It leans into that definitely, and I actually think that's one of the show's strengths overall, but at the same time, it does also fall into a little bit of that cliche territory, if that makes any sense. Let me know. Am I making any sense here as far as this goes?
Yeah, you are, except there's one major thing that I disagree with the community who I've seen covering and writing articles about this. This isn't a superhero story. Just because there are people with abilities does not make it a superhero story. Look at Sci-Fi's The Magicians. Same exact setup. They're all these kids who live in the underbelly of New York City, and there's this sort of deeper layer with magic, and they all find each other because that's just how these stories have to happen. Get them all in the same place. They meet the big bad, and then they go off on their adventure, and then they end with the cliffhanger. We get season 2, right? But that's not a superhero story. That's just 3 seasons into The Magicians, and that's how they've done it every time. I think there's a sickness, honestly. I think people are superhero sick. I was thinking about this morning as I was gathering my thoughts on this, and we just want so much of superheroes that I think marketing had no choice but to sort of, with what's happened to Joss and with the fact that, hey, this show was in production before what came to light, and so we've already sunk a boatload of money into this. There's a lot of CG. There's a lot of elegant outfits and set designs and sort of like set dressings, that old Victorian furniture, which is very expensive, and they have so much of it in this show. They had to recreate, first of all, recreating period pieces alone is a very expensive endeavor. So I just think to best salvage this project, because a lot of people obviously are turned off to it just by the big name attached to it, I think they had to throw superhero on it, because what else are people watching these days as a majority whole? I mean, it's superhero this, superhero that. And I think that's really the only reason. They're gifted, sure. They're touched, sure. But I mean, the Magicians were touched in the Sci-Fi show The Magicians. They're not calling them superheroes.
True.
Look at The Witcher, right?
Right.
Those witches, right? They're not superheroes in the Witcher land. They're touched. They have some similar abilities to some of the people we've seen here. I don't know. What's your take on that?
No, you're right. Honestly, the problem with that is, again, it's the fact of I literally just watched this for the first time last night, and I literally just woke up and got it.
I wasn't saying you.
No.
Yeah.
I'm blaming that as far as the marketing playing its tricks on my brain. As far as I see something like this, which again I automatically assume, okay, period piece X-Men, and then I see Joss Whedon's name on it, and that's just my fault for kind of
your
falling
X-Men
for the marketing. Right.
Your X-Men comparison is very on point. I mean, let's be honest.
And that's always been the interesting thing, is that we kind of have this, disposition in our head that the X-Men are superheroes, when in reality, the X-Men really aren't superheroes in the same way that the Avengers are. So I guess that's kind of just where my brain went as far as that goes, because you're right. It's very much not a superhero show as far as that goes. It's much more so a kind of like, it's like a piece on like kind of like, like societal perception and like different level of social class and different perception as far as based on external abnormalities. It's a racism allegory is what it is overall. And I think that, how do I put this? I think that definitely the show has a lot of promise as far as where it could go still with the storytelling, but I don't necessarily, again, I don't want to make this statement yet because it is still just the first episode, but already off the bat, I can see that we're already in for some very familiar storytelling techniques going forward. So with that being said, unless you kind of had anything else that you wanted to add to it, I feel like we definitely should start to get into the points of the show overall. But people,
Yeah. The only thing I wanted to say was, first of all, to Mithrandir in the chat, thanks for hanging out, man. Appreciate that, as always.
That's a great name, by the way.
Right?
That's a great name.
And yeah, he knows his stuff for sure. And so, guys, do you agree with us? Are people superheroes sick? Is this just an allegory? You know, let us know in the comments. Subscribe. Check this video out. Hit the subscribe button and the like button, the notification bell. We have a bunch of other Nevers content coming out this week. And yeah, with that being said, now.